7 things you must know when breaking up with a narcissist. My loyal listeners send to me information about others that provide inaccuracy and misinformation about narcissism across YouTube and other platforms. They do so because they now recognize the reality and the truth of the information that they receive from me, and it alarms them that such misinformation, sometimes well-intentioned but misguided, and other times just downright idiotic, is being pumped out elsewhere, and that it needs to be countered. And indeed, in one instance, a particular video that talked about 7 things that you need to know when breaking up with a narcissist contained incorrect information that was likely to result in further harm and difficulty to the victim. Here are 7 things. There are more, but here are 7 most important things that you should have regard to when you're breaking up with a narcissist. First of all, do it sooner rather than later. If you've had the sensible decision to assess the relevant individual through an narc detector and you have received the expert analysis confirming that this individual is a narcissist, you're now fixed with knowledge, and that means it's time to obey the first golden rule of freedom. Go so. Once you know, you go. You get out and you stay out. In some instances, certain matters need to be attended to, and a little bit of planning doesn't go amiss. But you should adhere to the principle that once you realize that you're dealing with a narcissist, it's all about getting out, not dithering, not allowing your emotional thinking to make excuses for you. In some situations, you can be in such dire danger that you should leave immediately with nothing but the clothes on your back. You can sort out your possessions and money at a later juncture. You need to get yourself to a position of safety. In other instances, you may have the ability to plan and to follow the advice provided in my book, Getting Out. But remember, the longer that you stay involved in some form with the narcissist, the more your emotional thinking remains high. And that emotional thinking doesn't want you to leave. It doesn't want you to end the relationship. It doesn't want you to stop the involvement, because if that happens, the addiction is less likely to be fed. So what it does is it makes you hesitant. I can't go. I've nowhere to live. I'm nervous if I go, he'll do something against me. I'm not sure what I'll do for money. Now, these are, of course, valid considerations, but they are driven by emotional thinking. You will find yourself somewhere to live, even if you have to sofa surf for a period of time to get away from your abuser. With regard to money, take it to court. See if family can help you. Will the narcissist do something? Not if he can't get anywhere near you. If you go and implement a solid no-contact regime, the narcissist doesn't know where to find you and there can't do anything against you. Understandably, you're nervous. Emotional thinking creates and exacerbates your fear. But it is important to realize that when you break up with a narcissist, get it done soon, end the formal relationship and implement that no-contact regime with the minimum of delay. Delay means you're less likely to do it. Delay means you're going to continue to expose yourself to the downsides of the narcissistic dynamic. You will be abused further. Your emotional thinking will climb higher, and it will become even harder to get out. Number 2, never warn the narcissist that you are thinking about leaving. Driven by a lack of understanding and the corrupting effect of emotional thinking, you may well think it's only fair that you tell the narcissist you're thinking of going, that you're unhappy and that you want out. Do not do this. Tipping off the narcissist only works against you. The first thing that will happen, you will be issued with a preventative Hoover, especially where you are the intimate partner primary source. Holding that position means that you are the prime asset that belongs, in the mind of the narcissist, to that narcissist. You are the one that is under control the most. You are the most fulsome provider of fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. And if you threaten to leave, or just basically say that you are, or that you're not happy and you're even thinking about doing so, you will invite a preventative Hoover which is designed to stop that happening, to bring you under control. Dependent upon the type of narcissist that you're dealing with, you might be met with physical violence. You might be met with a heated tirade of awful words towards you. You might be met with pity plays. You might be met with threats. You might be met with charm. However, you will meet with a preventative Hoover. Experiencing that in itself may well not be pleasant. It also means that you are continuing to be involved with the narcissist, which of course means, yes, increased emotional thinking. That means you're less likely to adhere to logic. You might start to feel bad for what you're going to do, feel sorry because your compassion empathic trait has been corrupted by this elevated emotional thinking. That you think, well, maybe I should give them another chance, and your resolve melts away. Having thought about and girded your loins to leave, you are dissuaded from doing so by the preventative Hoover. And even if you then decide to leave, the narcissist has been put on notice. And therefore, the narcissist is going to close the gap on you. May well put in place steps to try and find you where you've gone to start asking people about what you're up to. Whereas if you'd gone without any notification, you get a head start on the narcissist and your no contact. So never, ever warn the narcissist that you are thinking about leaving. 3. Never announce your departure in person. This isn't where you're thinking about leaving, you are leaving. But if you announce that you're going, you will also be met with a preventative Hoover. And it may be even more intense than a situation where you explain that you're thinking about leaving. That's because the immediacy of the situation is greater. You pose an even greater threat to the narcissist's control, and therefore the narcissism has no option other than to fight back with all intensity and fury to try and keep you in situ. And the downsides that I have just mentioned with regard to answer number 2 are applicable to answer number 3, but multiplied in intensity. You're more likely to be physically attacked. You're more likely to be shoved around. You're more likely to be made to feel an awful and horrible person. You're more likely to invite triangulation, where the narcissist might do something towards your children or threaten to do so. Anything can occur in order to prevent you, particularly when you're the primary source, from leaving. Number 4, do not send a text or email stating that you've left. You don't need to. All that's happening is that you will either issue challenge fuel to the narcissist or wound the narcissist, and then the narcissist will be forced to assert control over you. You, of course, driven by high emotional thinking, will believe, well, they need to know that it's over. It's the appropriate thing to do. The only time that you notify a narcissist that it is over is where you're serving divorce papers, because you have to do that in order to get the divorce. Anybody else, it would be appropriate, of course, to talk about the demise of the relationship or potential demise of the relationship beforehand, but that's pointless for the reasons I've already explained with the narcissist. You do not have any obligation to the narcissist to say that it's over. The narcissist will work it out for themselves when they can't get through to you on the telephone, that when they call round and you don't answer the door, that they find that they can't speak to you on social media any longer. This all wounds the narcissist and is perfectly acceptable behaviour, and this is where you get a bit of revenge against the narcissist. Rather than sending a Dear John letter, which is chock full with fuel, albeit challenging but nevertheless still fuel, apologising, wishing the person well, having your say, it's pointless. Well, the narcissist isn't going to go, oh, well, yes, what she's written there is fair enough, actually. I suppose it's only right that the relationship is over. Well, isn't it nice that she let me know? Right, okay, I better settle back down now and watch a bit more Breaking Bad, I guess. No. You will challenge the narcissist's sense of control, which means he'll come after you. Now, of course, when he realises that the relationship is over, he will still try and assert control over you. The initial Grand Hoover will be doled out. However, you'll have got a head start. In some instances, perhaps where you're a secondary source, the narcissist has put you on the shelf. And when you decide that you've gone, the narcissist might not find out for some time that you've gone. And that gives you a good opportunity to make that no-contact regime solid and to get a head start on reducing your emotional thinking. Similarly, If you sit down to write that email or letter, what are you doing? You're interacting with the narcissist, which means you will increase your emotional thinking, which means you might lose your bottle. Your resolve to do it may wane. You might find yourself having second thoughts. You need to be planning for your departure, getting on with the departure, and going. You don't owe the narcissist any explanation. You will feel that you do, because your emotional thinking will get hold of those empathic traits of decency and honesty to cause you to feel that you should tell the narcissist why you've gone and why it's over. However, you are not obligated to do so. Number 5. Don't tell those people who you identify as being in the narcissist camp why you've left or you're leaving in order to somehow soften the blow. All you're doing is giving away what you're doing to the coterie. And whilst they might make sympathetic noises towards you, they will tell the narcissist you've just tipped him off, meaning you'll either get a preventative hoover or they'll come after you quicker than they might ordinarily do so. Furthermore, you're probably likely to be made to feel bad by the members of the coterie by saying, he's not that bad, you know, as they start to make excuses for him. They may even turn on you, which is not a pleasant experience for you. And therefore, you are inviting more difficulties, more adverse consequences by talking about the narcissist with other people. You will, of course, increase your emotional thinking. And it may well be the case that you fail to follow through on your action because you ended up being dissuaded by these relatives, these friends, these people who are in the narcissist camp. Even if that doesn't happen, you've given away your intentions, so you might get a preventative hoover before you even manage to get away, or you slow down your escape. These people are in the narcissist camp. This doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people. It just means that they've got more allegiance to the narcissist than you, perhaps by reason of being family or friends. And therefore they are going to lean towards the narcissist rather than towards you. Again, your emotional thinking may cause you to think, well, they can tell him that it's over. It'll kind of soften the blow, hearing it from them and not from me. No, that's emotional thinking. Number 6. Do not feel guilty or bad about what you have done, or at least reduce the period of time that you allow yourself to feel guilty or bad. You invariably will do because you're an empath, and your emotional thinking will get hold of those empathic traits to make you think you're a bad person, to make you feel guilty for departing without explaining why, for ending the relationship at all. But what you've got to remind yourself of, you are dealing with a narcissist. The narcissist doesn't love you, doesn't care about you, has no emotional empathy for you. The narcissist has been abusing you in one form or many forms. Therefore, logically, why should you feel guilty? Why should you feel bad? You should not. You may think, well, I'm still hurting another human being and I feel bad for that. Of course, you're an empath. It's one of the weaknesses that affects you. However, what you ought not to do is allow that feeling to dissuade you from the logical path of escape. You can't help but feel these things. You are an empath after all. So it's pointless me saying to you, don't feel that way, because you will. What you've got to do is apply logic and think, although I feel this way, I shouldn't allow it to consume me. I shouldn't dwell on it. I shouldn't allow it to upset me because I know that I'm doing the right things, because logically, A, B, C, D, E, and spell it out to yourself as to why you're making the logical steps. And if you need help with that, you can consult with me and I'll explain it for you in detail. All that will happen is if you allow guilt and feeling bad to subsume you, is that you will spend time thinking about it. You'll feel worse. You'll end up talking about it with other people, and it might even cause you to change your mind. It might even cause you to weaken your no-contact regime to allow the narcissist an audience with you to plead his case, and then the hoovering is beginning to try and draw you back in, and all your hard work in getting out may well become undone because you failed to stay out. Finally, number 7. It's important for you to understand that taking this step means you will wound the narcissist. by you departing, particularly where you're the intimate partner primary source, you will cause extensive wounding to the narcissist. You are ripping a huge section of the fuel matrix out. Fuel, character traits, residual benefits are being removed. If your narcissist is a lesser, it could be as much as 90% that you're getting rid of. If they're a greater, maybe 40, 50%, but you're still going to wound. And therefore, whilst you understand that is what has happened, you need to recognize that that will result in the ignition of fury and a response from the narcissist. And you must be prepared for that. And the way to prepare for it is through the most rigorous and robust no-contact regime as set out in my book, No Contact. These are 7 things that you must know when you're breaking up with a narcissist, and they must be understood, implemented, and abided by in order to enable you to seize the power and achieve freedom. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.